Shalom everyone, and today we're going to study about the secrets of Rosh Hashanah, the great gift of Rosh Hashanah. I spoke about it a lot, there are many previous recordings, but I'd like to make a kind of a summary from the Zohar in a more advanced way of what should we expect of Rosh Hashanah, what is happening in the universe on that special day, and what are we supposed to do in order to gain the best results from this special gift. So, starting, the question is, why do we need a New Year's celebration? Just, a New Year's starting, you have to count something in order to have dates for agreements, for all kinds of reasons. You need to have a system of dates. So the system of dates is very, very ancient, and every civilization had its own system of what is called a calendar. But there is a deeper reason for that, because when we study Kabbalah, we understand that time is one of the few dimensions of our universe. And when we count the days, there's a reason, spiritual reason behind it, because the same way the universe, as it's being explained in the book of Formation, Sefer Yetzirah, the same way the universe has all kinds of structures and which basically represent the tree of life, the Sefirot. The same way it's about that dimension that is called time. And therefore, if we know a certain date, we can tell about the special energy that date is revealing or representing. So when we celebrate a new year, and by the way, in Hebrew, it's not New Year, it's Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year. And in the biblical year, Rosh Hashanah is being mentioned as the 7th month. Can you imagine celebrating the New Year on July 1st? If you are European or follow that culture and civilization, it sounds like illogical. So now we can realize it's not called celebrating the New Year, it's more celebrating Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year. Why the head of the year? Because the head is a code word, Rosh, for where the decisions fall, where the decisions are being made, which means if you want to know how to control what's going on around, you ask who's the head over here? Who's the head of the government? Rosh HaMemshala. Who's the head of the household? Rosh HaMishpacha. The word Rosh means that's where it's coming from. If you control it, you control the rest of the body. Okay, even the word Bereshit, if you know a little bit Hebrew, Bereshit, the first word of the Torah, the inner letters of Bereshit, there's a bet in the beginning that means in the. Then you have a Yud in the end, which is not connected to the root. What's left in the middle of the word Bereshit? Rosh. Again, that's a beginning. So if you control the beginning, which is in this case also the head, you control everything. Therefore, there's a whole Zohar, which is called Tikkunei Zohar, it's a whole volume with 70 different chapters, and each one of them has a different way to explain how the universe is structured based on the word Bereshit only, the first word of the Torah. So when we say Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year, it means we're talking about that's where everything really happens. That's where the control is. So we don't just want to start another number, another year. We are being mentioned by the Torah rules that another year means something, another cycle of tikkun, as we're going to see. Okay? So as we said before, the astrological year, even the biblical year, is starting in the spring solstice, which is the first day, the first moon of the month of Nisan, Aries, which is it has to be in the vicinity that new moon to March 21st, which is the day of the solstice, which means the night and the day are equal in the spring. That's the beginning of the biblical year. That's the beginning of the astrological year. So why are we jumping to another year, to another date, which is on the 7th month? And the answer is that it's like there's a Rosh Hashanah, New Year, for the light, from the light's point of view, which is in the spring. But on the 7th month, the number 7 shows about two things, says the Zohar. One, number 7 is Malchut, the vessel, which is, in this world, Malchut means kingdom. Who controls what's going on in our world? We do. Oh, we think that God does. No, but God's powers are endless and it's endless loving. So why can't we see it around? Why there's misery, suffering, and pain in our universe? And the answer is that this universe has been created for the purpose of creating an illusion of darkness and light, and darkness and pain, confusion, so we can overcome our confusion, our pain, our darkness, and we can bring in the light into this universe, which is our playground, humanity. Okay? So the 7th is also it means this is the place that we rule, that we control, which means what kind of a life are we going to have? Does that depend on God or depends on us? So in the bigger picture, of course it depends on God. But in the details, it depends on us because it depends on our free will. And that's why we come to this world, because only in this world we can really generate our own light and we can have our own game, our own freedom, our own independence, our own creativity. That's what this world is about. That's why our New Year is on the first day of the 7th month, not the first day of the first month, because the first day of this first month symbolizes the light that is coming from above. We have no control over it. Even when we celebrate Passover, we were passive when the miracles of the 10 plagues happened. And when we left Egypt, we were totally passive in that process. And that was all a gift from the Creator. Here, on the 7th month, Rosh Hashanah, it has something to do with our ability to get involved and to determine what kind of a year we're going to have. But just a second, if God is endless and is endless light and loving, why can't He give us a beautiful, perfect new year? Okay, isn't that the question every, normal human being will ask? And the answer is, Kabbalistically, the Creator is incapable of giving us less than that. He is giving us an amazing, perfect new year. The question is, can we reach out and bring it in? And how? That's the topic of this study. Okay, but before that, we have to mention something that will be in short because there are other lectures on YouTube that are more elaborating about it. Just to understand that the biblical Rosh Hashanah, according to the Zohar and Rabbi Isaac Luria, has two aspects. One aspect is the original Rosh Hashanah, the way it has been created in the beginning. And that means that the first day, when God said, "Let there be light," it was Rosh Hashanah, how could it be Rosh Hashanah? The sun and the moon were not created till the fourth day. How could it be Rosh Hashanah? So that's to mention to us that when we are speaking about a date, we're not talking about a physical date, we're talking about a metaphysical frame of mindset, a frequency. Okay? Bereshit. That's the head of everything. So the creation of the universe, let there be light, was the energy of Rosh Hashanah. And by the way, if you reorganize the letters of the word Bereshit, again, whoever doesn't know Hebrew, that's the first word of the Torah, of the book of Genesis, okay, Bereshit. If you reorder the letters of this word, you get Aleph Bet Tishrei, the first day of the month of Tishrei, which is happened to be the date of Rosh Hashanah. Okay? So in the beginning, it was supposed to be that 6 days later, when Adam is being created, it's again Rosh Hashanah. Adam has been created on Rosh Hashanah. He also sinned on that day, and therefore came all the negativity, not all, but the negativity to our world, in which that brings us a lot of pain that was not that needed. Okay? But that's an option that we took. And we live in that parallel universe of taking that option. Okay? So now, the sixth day was also Rosh Hashanah. If Adam did not sin, he was capable, explain the Kabbalist, to correct himself, which means all of humanity, within that day. Since Adam sinned, Rosh Hashanah turned to be 22 days long. So it's a process that is made of what is called the high holidays of the Jewish New Year. And those high holidays, they are made of 22 days from the first day of the month of Tishrei, Libra, till the 22nd day, which is the day of Simchat Torah. Altogether, 22 days that are divided into 3 stages. We'll see that appearing every place. The first stage is the first 10 days of repentance, which is corresponding to the left column. Everything is made of 3 columns, otherwise it doesn't work. The left column means the side of judgment. And that's why on these 10 days we are working on fixing, sweetening, these are the words, correcting the judgment in our lives. That's what these 10 days are for. Why 10 days? Keter Til Malchut, which means Rosh Hashanah is the first of the 10, which means it equals to that power that is called Sefirat Keter. We'll see that's very, very important. After the 10 days of repentance, we have the days after Yom Kippur, and with them the 7 days of Sukkot. Okay? So that altogether are 11 days. Okay? And these are working on the right column, the energy of chesed, loving and kindness, and that's for these 11 days after the end of Yom Kippur. Central column will be Simchat Torah, which is the 22nd day for 1 day, and if you live outside Israel, so it's being celebrated in 2 days because it's hard outside of Israel to get all the energy at 1 day. So you have a system that during those 22 days, we are really witnessing the birth of our new year. And if we have enough wisdom, we can intervene in that process in order to improve the process so we have a better year than the previous year. Okay? So you can also look at it as this chart from left to right. So you see that Rosh Hashanah, that's a 10 days of repentance. And you see the 10 Sefirot marked on these days. The first day is the first and the second day. You see it on the left. That's Keter, corresponding to Keter and Chochmah. Okay? That's the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. Then you have 7 days in between, from day number 3 till day number 9, from Binah to Yesod. These are also special days. They are parts of the days of repentance or the days of awe. During these days, we are going through a cosmic cleansing, like an operation that is known as the Nesirah. You read it on the second line underneath the 10 days of repentance. As we said, it's correcting, working, fixing the left column system. Okay? And each one of us has a left column. Without a left column, we can function because we need to have a desire to receive. However, that desire to receive needs to be working properly. This is the time of the 10 days of awe. Then after Yom Kippur, which is on the 10th day, you see it over here, number 10, then which is a day of complete purification, then we are starting to get special lights from Binah, from the upper world. And the Zohar says when the 7th is coming, it's the time to reconnect to the upper world, which is Binah. That's why the whole month of Tishrei is considered to be like a big one holiday, okay, with different stages. So if the first stage, first 10 days, we worked on the judgment, on the Gevurah side, on the left column side. Now we have 11 days, we are working on the Chesed side, the loving, caring, and sharing. We have from day 11 to day 14, we have 4 days we're receiving internal light from Binah. Okay? That's happening automatically according to our work during the first 10 days. Okay? And that continues till to day 15, and they are coming in the reverse order of the Sefirot. If you see above the numbers, the names of the Sefirot that are getting in during that time. On the 15th day, it's the beginning of the holiday of Sukkot. And here comes another force that is called surrounding light from Binah, and it takes 7 days for that light to come in, and you have the names of the Sefirot marked over the numbers here: Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut. And that's why we celebrate Sukkot, because the whole thing about the holiday of Sukkot is how to retain that energy of Chesed, right column, and keep it for the rest of the year. Okay? And then we coming to the last day, the 22nd day, central column, which is the completion of humanity's destinies for the coming year. Central column, that's a Simchat Torah, and by this we completed 22 days. And how do we know? Because we start reading from the beginning of the Torah on that day, Simchat Torah, on the 22nd day. We don't start reading Bereshit on Rosh Hashanah. Till the 22nd day, we still have a little bit from the Torah to read, to complete. The Torah is being completed on Simchat Torah, the 22nd day. On the same day, we also start the reading for the next coming year. And that's a symbol also that the previous year has come to its end, and the new year is really starting today, just today on Simchat Torah. So those 22 days are very crucial to who are we going to be, what kind of a movie or a karma, tikkun we're going to experience the next year, because this is like going into the kitchen of the Creator, and we are now getting involved with the cooking of the movie, with all the opportunities, all the challenges we're going to face in the coming year. How does that work? As I said, if it was too fast, there are other recordings where it's being more elaborated, and I'm not going to go into too much. How does that work? So before that, we have to prepare for the new year. We have to do teshuvah, which means we have to return to our connection to the light. During this month, the month of Elul, the month of Virgo, before the new moon of Tishrei, before the new year is starting, we have to, and like a cosmic opening, which is called the month of Virgo, the month of Teshuvah, in which we return the hay, which is our own vessel, our own desire, back to its place, connecting to the upper world. And the question is that it's during this month, we have to ask the questions: what was I connected to during the past year? Was I connecting to the true self, to my true needs, desires, and callings? Or maybe I was busy running after all kinds of fake desires and goals dictated to me by external forces, and I allowed it to control me. So no wonder that I went astray, and I found myself bitter, upset, and unfulfilled as a result of the previous year. Because, if you're not working for your goal, and you're not focusing on it, and you're not connected to it by your mind, by your awareness, of course you're not going to achieve that. That's why the word teshuvah, wrongly translated to repentance, in Hebrew it means return. Lashuv, which means returning back. We have an opportunity to just, through meditations, through prayers, to go deep inside to find who's the person that I really want or desires to become deep inside. Now, we have a support because the month of Virgo allows that, makes it easier, because Virgo allows you to go into little details beneath what everybody else can see. The letters of the months are Resh and Yud, according to the book of formation, Sefer Yetzirah. Resh is for Mercury, which is a planet of communication. So here we can use that cosmic energy during this month to communicate with what? With ourselves, with our soul, with the Creator, with the creation, beyond all the noise and all the stuff that floods our minds and consciousness and senses, and disturbs us from being the person we'd like to be. The letter Yud on the left, that's the letter for the month of Elul, Virgo. The number 10, when somebody is perfect, he's 10. Virgo, they always, if they're not 10, they have a problem. We all becoming that kind of a Virgo during this month, because we all want to excel and reach that perfection. Okay? During this month, it's time to make lists, to meditate, to achieve completions in relationships with all kinds of people we didn't have completion with, get feedback from friends about, we know very good when it's coming to our friends, we know very good where do they fall and what should they do in order to fix it. We are very smart about others. You know what? Use your friends for the same purpose. They're so smart about you, let them share it with you. So when you allow them to share it with you, and to ask people, what do you think about me? What can I become? And so on. If you have friends like this, you're very lucky, but that can help you a lot in order to preparing your mindset coming to Rosh Hashanah. Now, this is when we're coming to Rosh Hashanah, this is always on the new moon of the month of Libra. the month of Tishrei. The letters are Pei and Lamed. Pei is for Venus, because Venus is a planet that has a mixture of physical pleasure with spiritual pleasure, of physical beauty with spiritual beauty. And here in this month, our job is to separate between the two. So we will be attached during the next coming year to the real spiritual beauty, because spiritual beauty has a lasting nature. It stays forever, while physical beauty, we all know, doesn't stay for long. The letter Lamed, which is for the month of Tishrei, the month of Libra, the letter Lamed is the only letter in the Hebrew alphabet, the biblical alphabet, that goes above the line. It's like writing a letter, something like a letter Kaf, and then you put on top of it the letter Vav. That's how you write a Lamed. Which means it shows us that we have a connection to the world above. There's an opening. The gates of heavens open up during the month of Tishrei, and we have our chance to come back home, not just to the frequency we want to experience, but also to connect back to the bliss that this world has been created with. This world has not been created with poverty, with misery, with pain and darkness. No, it was not. It was fulfilled with bliss from the Creator, because the Creator is only about giving. However, because of our free will, we choose too much to go into directions that are not so enlightened. And therefore, the pain is not coming from the Creator. The darkness is not coming from Him. The darkness and the pain are coming from us by making the choices of getting away from Him. On the month of Tishrei, we can celebrate reunion with the upper world, and that's what these two letters symbolize. So let us see what is the main thing on Rosh Hashanah. There are many traditions of Rosh Hashanah, but the most important and the most famous is the Shofar blowing. And the verses that summarize it more than all are in the book of the Zohar Asulam, Parashat Vayikra, verse 302. And it says over there that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai made a lot of effort to prepare the people who led the service, the prayer, and the ones who blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. He will prepare them 3 days ahead, and with really dedicating a lot of time and effort to bring them to the place in which they can really do the job. And Rabbi Shimon said, so says the Zohar, that the whole world would be atoned by the prayer of that person that he, Rabbi Shimon, prepared for that day. So how did he prepare him? What did he teach him? What did he tell him to think about? What kind of emotions did he bring him into in order to be able to atone the whole world? That's how important Rosh Hashanah is about. Okay? And then in the end of that great article that we're going to come to it later on if we have time, Rabbi Shimon declares it is a war. This is a war. Rosh Hashanah is a war. And God says, give me power. How? By the shofar. Which means, do I need to give power to the Creator? Okay, it says so. If you go, I just forgot the verse, but for that we have Google. Okay, and in Psalms 68, verse 35, it says, give power to God. Why do I need to give power to God? Because He is the power. He's the source of the power. He's endless power. How could I give finite creature that is so powerless give power to God? Oh, the question is, in our world, in this world that was created as the Torah is teaching us, it has been created through a long process of devolution, which means more and more and more curtains and separations, till we came to this physical world in which we are called Malchut, kingdom. We control the flow of bliss in our world. In our world, the Creator cannot intervene. We need to invite Him. We need to let Him in. So, why? Because if you learn Kabbalah, the first thing you learn is about the concept that is called bread of shame, which means there's a shame in receiving bread for free or anything good for free. And therefore, we could not stay in the bliss of the endless that God created for us. We needed a dark spot. That dark point is our universe. It's a dark point in the universe of light that God created. Why this dark point had to emerge? So we can choose bringing God's light into our lives or choose not to do that. Which means every light coming into our life, we need to approve, desire it, be conscious of it, want it, and know how to deal with that without losing it. This is the task of a human being. We're not here to achieve happiness. Why? We were created with happiness. Okay? In the first place, we are here for the process of achieving, reaching, making the effort, getting to happiness through the process of self-transformation. Okay? So the shofar is a concentrated act through which we can bring in the positive light of the bliss of the Creator and the creation into that dark space that is created, that is called the creation. We are the one who have the veto, which means, as we learned, and I said it many, many times, did you ever try to make somebody happy against their will? And how much did you pay for it? For this futile effort of trying to force somebody to be happy. We cannot force others to be happy, and so is the Creator Himself. Why? Because He's capable only of giving. And the worst thing you can do to a human being is to take away their independence and their free will. And that God will never do. So He gives us options. We need to choose His light. We need to choose to allow His power to come to this world and to show its benefit. But that's our job and nobody else's. Okay? How do we bring in the power of God into this world? This is the question. Okay? So, before we continue, we'll just hop to another part of the Zohar. In Zohar Sulam, Parashat Vayera, verse 381, and it says over there as follows. I'm reading the Aramaic of Rabbi Shimon. Tachazi, come and see. כגב נדע ביום ראש השנה ויום הכיפורים דדינה השתכח בעלמא. יהוא קיים לקטרגה, וישראל בעיה להתערה בשופר, ולהתערה קול, דקליל באשה ומיה ורוחה. ויתבידו חד, ולשמעו קול מיגו שופר. Translation into Hebrew. Come and see. On the day of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippurim, remember, Rosh Hashanah is the beginning of the 10 days of Teshuvah, the 10 days of judgments. the Yom Kippurim is the 10th of these 10 days. שהדין נמצא אז בעולם, there is a judgment in the world. והשטן עומד אז לקטרג. And the Satan, okay, Satan, we have to understand what is Satan. Satan is standing there to prosecute, to bring judgment, to delay, to stop, to prevent from the bliss to come in to fulfill each one of us. So, I'm going to explain that. שישראל צריכים אז להתעורר בשופר, but the people of Israel must, on that day, to wake themselves up with the shofar and to awaken a voice, a sound, the blowing of the shofar, that is included of water, fire, and air. Water, fire, and air. Water, there's a humidity when you blow into the shofar. Whoever did it, it becomes wet from the vapors in your breath. Fire, the heat of your breath, and air, it's all air. These three, if you notice, they are the three major elements of the creation. Water is the element of the right column, chesed, loving kindness. It's also corresponding to the proton, to the plus. Fire is the negative, that is judgment. Okay? That's a desire, that's the ability to say no, okay, that's the ability to overcome whatever we're going through. And air, ruach, is the element that balances between the water and the fire, the plus and the minus, the chesed, the chesed, loving kindness, and gvura, judgment. Okay, on Rosh Hashanah, we put all three elements, water, fire, and air, we unite them together by blowing that sound from the shofar. How do we do that? So, the Zohar continues to explain. Perush, explanation, commentary. Youdkevitch חודשי השנה, the 12 months of the year, as we said, the calendar year, הם תיקון המלכות מתחילתה עד סופה. 12 months and the days of this month, they are an opportunity to make a tikkun, a correction of the vessel from the beginning to the end. Of the vessel and of the year. Okay? Every day is another opportunity, which means what is the Zohar saying? That every year, every human being is receiving all the possible opportunities that if he or she identify the opportunity, and if we or when we react properly to those opportunities and we do it right, we can, within 12 months of the year, we can bring ourselves towards a complete correction. So theoretically, we don't need a lifetime to complete our lives. We need 1 year of 12 months. וכיוון שסופה אינו נשלם לגמרי גמר התיקון, but we look, it's Rosh Hashanah is coming, and we look around, and most of us, the big majority, did not reach completion, did not reach tikkun. We all have scars, we all have faults, we all have all kinds of dark stuff carrying with ourselves around that we are not complete with them. So that year was not enough. So we need to ask for a new year, for another year, because the coming year is not just automatically there's a year, like the clock looks like. No, we need to bring in the bliss, the sustenance, the fulfillment, the life force for another year. So we need every year, When that cycle is starting on Rosh Hashanah, we need to create a tikkun so we can give birth to another year that will be better than the year that just completed. ועל כן בכל ראש השנה אנו מתחילים מבראשית תיקון המלכות. That's why every ראש השנה we're starting the correction of מלכות from the beginning. From the beginning like it used to be, דהיינו כמו שנאצלה ביום רביעי למעשה בראשית. Like it used to be on the fourth day of the days of creation. What happened on the fourth day? On the fourth day, the moon and the sun and the stars have been created. And there's a legend that in the beginning, the moon and the sun were at the same size. However, the moon didn't like it. There's a legend. The moon did not like it. And the moon went to the creator and said, like, how could two kings use the same crown? That's impossible. And the creator said to the moon, you know what, you're right. Go diminish yourself. And the question is, what is this legend talking about? You know, when is that you are so irritated by somebody else that is shining as you, that you go and you tell about them to the creator or to somebody powerful, which means, you know, they're not supposed to take this position. You know what? I'm the one to take the position. Okay? So the fact that Malchut, the moon, okay, the moon, which is a symbol of Malchut, the symbol of me, myself, I, the desire to receive that is not corrected, the fact that the moon started to speak against the sun, as the legend is telling us, it already shows there's a problem, there's a lack. It's not corrected. When we get aggravated about somebody else, no matter what's the reason, it's not about them, it's always about us. Why? We can all see it. We get aggravated by other people, not in a direct relation to their bad deeds, but as a direct relation to our own mood at the time. So if we had an amazing, great time and somebody upsetting comes into our frame, we're not that upset about him. We say, okay, the poor guy is like, he has problems. Why should I be irritated? But when we are irritated, it's because something is wrong with us. There's a deep dissatisfaction that the other person just awakened, that we are not aware of it. So every year, the symbol of the argument between God and the moon, it's about basically the New Year's coming, and we have to fix our malchut, our vessel, our desire to receive, which is corresponding to the moon. Because the moon has cycles, right? High and by, fulfillment, and then another round. The sun has no rounds. The sun is steady, like the creator. So the same way that the moon and the sun have been created on the fourth day of the story of Genesis, in the beginning it said, and God made the two great lights. The sun and the moon had direct access. Sun and moon is basically a hint for Sefirat Ze'anpin, whoever knows what it is, that the spiritual world, but also the physical world, our body, was also connected to the high source. The problem is like this. We were there like two kings using the same crown. That they didn't go anywhere. So the moon was reactive to show that when you are connecting to the source, but you are not complete with yourself, it will never satisfy you. Everybody else will be irritating, upsetting. Okay? So, yes, we were created. The sun and the moon were created. Reality was created. The sun and the moon were totally connected to the upper world with full light. Could we take it? No. We humans can't stand situations in which everything is perfect and it's being forced upon us. So we have to get out of that state of perfection. Okay? And we could not get that light. The symbol for that is the moon had to diminish itself. From that moment on, the moon has no light of its own, only the light it reflects from the sun. The same is about humanity. We have no light of our own, only the light we reflect, which means only the light that we receive and not just that we receive it, we're not holding it for ourselves, but we use that light that we've received in order to share with others. And that's why the new state is, in our world, that the sun is the ongoing sharer, which represents the spiritual upper world, the male aspect of our creation. And the moon is representing us. We have as much light as we reflect. What we do not reflect, we do not have. So, in this world, we have to learn, like the moon, to reflect the light of the upper world, which means we cannot be selfish in this world because that will cut us off the light. So, this is basically what this Zohar is saying, to continue. That's why the moon could not sit still. The moon had to speak against the sun. And what did the moon say? You cannot have two kings using one crown, which means you cannot have two rulers to this world. Because at that moment, the moon and the sun were on the same level. However, why was the moon complaining? When are we complaining? When we're really happy with something that is not that right? We're not complaining. Either we try to fix it and we realize we can't fix it, we do something else. But we're not complaining. When you're fulfilled with the light of God, you're not complaining. Okay? So the fact the moon is complaining, there is a lack of something. So the Zohar says, שלא הייתה יכולה לסבול חיסרון החסדים. There was no light of chesed. What is light of chesed? In this world, after the tzimtzum, after the world is being contracted, and that world of diminishment, of darkness, of confusion, has been created, our world, we are residents of this confusing, perplexing world. Okay? In this world, in order to receive any real light and fulfillment, you need to generate an equal amount of loving and kindness. And therefore, I remind it again and again and again. I never met happy, selfish people. It's an oxymoron, happy and selfish. Why? The only way we can keep the light in is when we generate enough energy of sharing, enough light of chasadim. When we don't have that light of chesed, it's like having live wires all over your house without the insulation. What will happen? Boom! That's what happens to us. When we get connected to the light of God by trying to achieve and retrieve any kind of pleasure and fun, if it's only for ourselves, which is called the left column, we get the light, we get a high. How long does it last? 20 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours. Wow, that's a lot. But then comes the morning after, and the pain is so excruciating. Why? When you have the light of the Creator, excitement and fun and fulfillment and happiness and so on, but you do not generate chasadim. Chasadim means loving and kindness. You have no real vessel to contain the light. The fact that you want it so much is not enough. Not in this world. In this world, in order to get you need to give. Because when you generate the light of chesed, you have the only legal vessel to receive any fulfillment. So people are very much into chasadim, into caring, giving, being there for others, like in an unconditional way. They will be much happier and more fulfilled than people that are totally dedicated for bringing pleasure only to themselves. Not just that they are not fulfilled, it could be a very short-lasting fulfillment. They will be more aggravated like the moon in the beginning. The moon is a symbol of a human being. The moon that is complaining is of a human being that just takes and does not give anything. That's called being aggravated. The moon was aggravated. Okay? And what was the solution? The moon had to get down and diminish itself. And from that moment on, the moon can function. Why? After that, the moon does not project light, only it reflects the light of the sun. Same with us. Every time we feel we're getting something, we're using what we're getting in order to share it with others, we generate the light of chasadim. When we generate the light of chasadim, on the physical, external, elusive level, it looks like we gave away our time, money, energy, wit, talents, whatever. But really later on, we start to reveal that we didn't just give away, we get back. We got back. That state of existence that is called the tikkun, the correction, was created in the beginning. And the story of the moon, the moon and the sun were big, the same size, and then the moon diminishes itself, it's just to explain to us how we can solve the problem that on one hand, the Creator wants to give us endlessly. On the other hand, if we receive what the Creator is giving to us, we burn ourselves. It's a high and buy. It's a pleasure and then suffering the day after or half an hour later. And then you get depressed and you need drugs in order to get out of the depression. There's another way to do it. So every time we receive, we want to receive, and it's legitimate to receive pleasure in this world. We were created for that purpose. However, you want it to be so good for you, make sure it is good also for other people. Well, now, when we are busy bringing the pleasure to ourselves, we're selfish. All of those selfish moments, all of those moments that we really want for ourselves and for ourselves alone, we draw God's light because God never says no. We get fulfilled, but it's short-lived. That light that we draw in is called the light of the left column. It's like taking for oneself alone. Oh, there's a lot of pleasure enjoying for yourself without sharing with anybody else. The problem is, it doesn't last. It always finishes with terrible disappointment and pain. Okay? And that is called the action of Satan. אוקיי, וצריכים להעביר אחיזת השטן, וכתרוגו מן המלכות בעת ההוא. What is Satan? Satan in Hebrew means to disturb. The more we receive in a selfish manner, and the more we suffer, it's like putting your finger in the socket. You get electrocuted. The more high you get by consuming all kinds of the most craziest drugs, the more burned you'll become. The less happy you can become. That negativity that is the leftover of the selfish rush after excitement and fulfillment, That is called Satan. Why it's called Satan? Because it disturbs, delays, blocks real, positive, enlightened, spiritual fulfillment from coming in. So when Rosh Hashanah is coming and a new year is starting, what does it mean a new year is starting? Remember, every year has potentially the option for all of us to complete our tikkun. If the Creator knows that and He loves us unconditionally, He is sure on Rosh Hashanah that we are going to make our tikkun. How could we? We are His beloved children. So He gives us a fulfillment only for 1 year. When this year is over and we're not there yet, He needs to give us another year. From His point of view, He is giving us endless amounts of bliss, life, sustenance, whatever is needed, because that's from His point of view. However, all the judgments that we generated the previous years and lifetimes, which means being selfish, hurting ourselves just by taking without giving, and hurting others by taking and not giving. All the pain and suffering and misery and confusion that we generated in our lives and past lives till today, that is our Satan. That delays, disturbs. It's like a force that does not allow the light of the Creator to come in on Rosh Hashanah. That's called the kitrug, the disturbances of Satan on us on Rosh Hashanah. So how do we remove that Satan? So the Zohar said, using the Zohar, we give God the power to help us. Using the Shofar, we are giving God the power to help us. How? So the Zohar continues. We'll skip to Parashat Shoftim, verse 14. We studied it a few weeks ago, but I want to go into more details. Okay? And on Parashat Shoftim, it says, it quotes from Deuteronomy 17, verse 6, Al pi shnayim edim o shlosha yakum davar. A verdict can be given by court, physical court or heavenly court, only if you have 2 witnesses at least, eyewitnesses. That's a biblical law. Rosh Hashanah is coming, and you need 2 witnesses. ולא עוד אלא שני עדים הם על האדם. But a human being has 2 witnesses. עין רואה ואוזן שומעת. The eye and the ear. The eye saw and the ear heard. That's good enough for witnessing. והבית דין סופר ודן עוונותיו. Then all the judgments of the person are being counted or bringing into account on Rosh Hashanah, and according to that, which means all negativities that we did not remove during the past year, we'll have to face them during the coming year. Because what is tikkun? Tikkun is when we achieve our happiness on our own, when we remove the negativity on our own, when we remove the judgment on our own, when we realize nobody ever hurt us, not even the Creator. It's all our own actions. So by our own way to get rid of it is simply returning to God, returning to where we came from, returning to that place that, just a second, I just want the pure spiritual happiness that is by connecting to the endless love of the Creator, by loving His creatures and loving His creation. Okay? When a person is not capable of that, being that fulfilled and that appreciative, then he has judgment upon him. And that judgment means a delay, that the bliss that is ready for each one of us is not coming in because we don't let it in. We're not ready for it. But then it says that on Rosh Hashanah, the moon and the sun, they are the witnesses of a person. They witness everything because they see everything. But then it says, Tik'u b'chodesh shofar b'kesel liyom chagenu. That's another verse that is very important. This verse you can find in Psalm 81:4. Okay? Blow the shofar when the moon is covered for the day of our celebration. So just a second, if Rosh Hashanah is the judgment day, why do we call it Yom Chagenu, the day of celebration? Okay? And what does it mean that the moon is covered? Ma'u bakese. What does it mean that the moon is covered? Hu bayom shalvana she'amalchut mitkasa bo. The day that the moon, remember the moon is malchut, the vessel, the left column, is covered. First of all, physically, Rosh Hashanah is always on the first day of the lunar month. What does it mean? On that day, the moon is covered. Sometimes along the day, the new moon, the first sliver of the moon will be seen. But that's covered because you almost see nothing. So it's like one witness is missing. One witness is hiding, the moon. Why is the moon hiding? למה היא מתכסה? ומשום שכשמגיע ראש השנה, because the day of Rosh Hashanah arrives, the angel, יבוא סמך מם, לבקש דין על בניה. The angel of darkness will come to ask for judgment. Why? You know, that's, as we said, you have to pay the consequences. You were busy all last year, either creating more judgments by taking too much, being angry too much, all of those emotions that set us away from the Creator and the creation. Who creates this judgment? Ourselves. Okay? Those judgments become the dark side, our dark side, that is becoming a prosecuting attorney on Rosh Hashanah. That's the dark side, the dark angel. So, the legend says the dark angel will come to the Creator and say, we have all the proofs that this man or woman, they're guilty, terribly guilty. And God says, bring me two witnesses. And the moon refuses to come to court to witness. She's hiding. How can the moon be hiding? We know the moon is in the heaven. Why God doesn't see that? But he answers, what happens on Rosh Hashanah, that the moon is really hiding. The moon is ascending to a certain place that it says about it, do not delve in what is covered away from you. Okay? That's a place you're not supposed to go. And you find that in the Talmud, Tractate Chagiga, page 13, side 1. Do not go where you're not supposed to. Okay? The moon goes up there in order to appease the Creator, so he's not angry over her children. Who are the children of the moon? Remember, the moon represents us, humanity, the creation. But what does it mean for us? Is there a debate on Rosh Hashanah between the moon, the sun, and the Creator? וזהו שאמר הכתוב, that's what it says, what is written. תקעו בחודש שופר ליום חגנו. Blow the shofar when the moon is covered, because it's a day of our holiday and celebration. Because the place that the Shekhinah, the moon is representing in this case the Shekhinah. And it says, do not delve where in that place that is covered. On that day, the sins will be covered. העוונות שהם בסתר צריכים להיות נידונים שם בינו לבין קונו. The person needs to deal with his own mistakes and sins between him and God only, quietly. By the way, this is why you're not supposed on Rosh Hashanah to mention by speech what you did wrong. When you pray to the Creator, do not mention what you did wrong. Why? You're in court. You don't want to incriminate yourself. העוונות שחטא בגלוי, נאמר מכסה פשעיו ולא יצליח. The sins that a person did in the opening, you cannot cover it up. You have to ask for forgiveness. You have to ask people for forgiveness. You have to atone for that. You're in the opening. Okay, however, then comes the next thing. השכינה מצד הכתר היא עולם הנסתר. The Shekhinah. From the side of the Keter, which is the highest Sephirah. Remember, when we looked at the 10 days of repentance, the first day is Keter. The first day of Rosh Hashanah, this is Keter. Keter is the hidden universe, העולם הנסתר. והעמידו בעלי המשנה שאדם צריך לחבר עוונותיו למקום ההוא. And the sages said that the person needs to connect his sins to that place, the hidden place, which is called Keter. There's a big secret over here. בזמן ההוא מגיע זמן של הרחמים והדין, I'm going to explain. On that time, it's a time that the mercies and the judgments are passing by. And therefore, you have to connect your sins to the Keter. Because that, לזכותו מן העדות של מלכות, because that will remove any testimony that you ever sinned. But that's for a person that is repenting on Rosh Hashanah. אבל לרשע אין מזכין לו. But somebody who's evil, and he has no idea and no desire to repent or to come back, he's just, that's the way I am, and accept me the way I am, he is not being cleansed on Rosh Hashanah. How does that happen? So, the way it's happening, says the Zohar, is like this. On Rosh Hashanah, the world goes back to the beginning, which means the same frequency of the beginning appears in the universe every year on Rosh Hashanah. So every year on Rosh Hashanah, then the whole world goes back to, remember, the moon and the sun, they are equal, but they are in darkness. Why? The sun, which represents Zeir Anpin, the spiritual world, can be fulfilled with light only if it has a vessel, us, that we wish, ask for the light. The moon, which is us, the souls of humanity, is also in darkness. Why? Because when you want just for yourself, you'll stay in darkness. So both aspects, Zeir Anpin and Malchut, the sun and the moon, are both dark in the moment of the creation. The only way to fix it is to diminish the moon so it receives only through the sun, which means diminish our soul so we can receive pleasure only via the spiritual world. Which means if I want to receive anything, it has to be conditioned by the commitment that will be only on the spiritual realm and only on the spiritual, by the spiritual rules. Therefore, on Rosh Hashanah, we read the story of, in the Torah, the story of the birth of Isaac, judgment, and the story of the binding of Isaac, when Isaac, that is symbolized the moon, again, the desire to receive, allows Abraham to bind him. Abraham, that is symbol of water energy, giving and sharing. Again, in our world, the only way we can be fulfilled is when we have a desire to be fulfilled. If you don't want anything, there's no chance you're going to get anything. But the desiring, which is also called left column, is not enough, because when you just desire just because you feel like, which is the biggest plague of our new generation, I want it. Why could I take it? It feels good. Should be kosher, should be okay. Just because I want to feel good, no one will ever have the right to tell me, no, according to my narrative, this is right, therefore I will take it because I want it. This is dangerous. This is the moon. And why the moon is talking bad about the sun? Because when you take what is called, when you are a taker, you get very frustrated because it never stays. That light that you experience, that excitement that you get, that fulfillment that you achieve is short-lived, and it leaves a very bitter aftertaste. And you become a complainer. Did you know this? All the takers, they become also the complainers. While the winners are people that don't have time to complain, and they are not takers. They know that if you want to achieve something great, you have to make the effort honestly to achieve it. If you want to receive a lot, you have to give a lot. They are the ones who know how to balance. Okay? So our judgment on Rosh Hashanah is not from the Creator. It's not from a Satan, a demonic, terrible, powerful, dark energy, which is a force by its own. No, it's not. It's that state of mind, because we're not perfect. Those forces we generated of negativity, of selfishness, they are our prosecutor attorney. And they block from the upper world to shine and give us fulfillment for the next year, which means sustenance, life, family, community, or what really satisfies us. It's blocked if it's full of energy of selfishness, of negativity, of blame, of victimization, of hatred and anger, and rightful anger. On Rosh Hashanah, that, if we don't fix it, it is being fixated on our karma, on our movie, and we'll have to get back to it again and again and again till we're going to do it right. So how do you do it right? That is the secret of the shofar. And that's what it says. On Rosh Hashanah, with the shofar, with the voice that comes with the sound that is coming from the shofar, we can awaken a force that is called Masach Dechirik. We can awaken a force. That force is a very, very intense force of judgment. Didn't we say want to eliminate judgment? Yes. You eliminate judgment by another judgment. I'll give you an example. Very simple. Why do we get angry? Why do we get frustrated? Okay? Because we want something, like a little kid. We wanted the candy. We wanted the ice cream. We didn't get it. We get upset. Okay? End of game. It's very simple. I wanted it. I didn't get it. I'm very upset. And a moment ago, I was so excited to get the ice cream. And then when I had a no, I'm so upset. And I have this like mood swings, manic depressive. 1 second I'm manic, 1 second I'm depressive. Okay? High and by. That's what happens when you behave like a baby. But when a person has a real mature personality, you realize that, okay, I want the ice cream, I want the candy, or whatever replaces the ice cream and the candy when you grow up. Okay? Bigger desires. And I wanted it, but I didn't get it. So I'll try again. I'll try again. I make more effort because that's what life is about. So yes, my initial reaction is to be upset and blame the whole world. But if you are a winner and you are a giver, and you can't take it just because you want it. That's not enough. So what do? You suppress. The first thing is you suppress. It's like using a full brake. You suppress your disappointment. You suppress your frustration. You suppress your anger, your hate towards the one who said no, whatever, because you know it's not going to help you. So that suppression, that pushing the brakes, is a judgment that you activate. But you're not suppressing really. You're suppressing by full brakes just momentarily. You suppress your initial desire to be aggravated. Why? Because if you are a mature person, you know that being upset and aggravated is not going to get you what you want. So you know to put aside aggravation. And it's not that you're sitting there suppressing the aggravation. You're still a victim. You're still a taker, because you're still expecting. It's like, how come they didn't give it to me? The real suppression is when you transform the suppression into, okay, so what do I do right now in order to achieve my goal and to receive finally my fulfillment by my own action and taking responsibility for that? Okay, that, the Zohar calls it, that is the blowing of the shofar. Okay? The blowing of the shofar is replacing that action that I did not take, that responsibility that I did not take for my emotions and for my perception, that negativity that I went into is left a residue, as we said. That is my Satan. So on Rosh Hashanah, I can go back to the moment that I generated the negativity, or the general moment of any negativity, and I fix it by creating that transformation instead of what I was supposed to do in the past year. The shofar is doing that. The shofar has many meanings. What is shofar? A shofar needs to be a horn of a ram, like the ram that was sacrificed by Abraham instead of his son Isaac. And it needs to be, and you need to blow the shofar. And there are three major, basically it's four sounds of the shofar. Each one of them is awakening another force in order to create the correction. Okay? The first force of the shofar is called tekiah. Okay? And let's continue a little bit and I'll explain it. So when we blow the shofar, what do we do? The first is, why do we have any kind of negativities, upset, negative energy, blockages, whatever? That is because we had no self-control. And more than that, if at the moment, the frustrating moment that I didn't get what I wanted, okay? And I felt really upset, miserable, hateful, whatever, just name it, okay? The whole spectrum of dissatisfaction and upset. Why did I feel like this? Because, as I said, I was not mature enough to say, you know what? I'll try another time. You can't win them all. You can't do it all the time. And more than that, if I am a real wise person, I know that if I didn't get what I wanted, it's either because I'm not supposed to get it, because there's one God who runs the show, and either because I don't need that, so it's good for me, or because I didn't make enough effort and I didn't reach the level in which I can have what I really want. So that's kind of expanding what we just said before. We said before, I got upset. Now I'm expanding it. Why did I get upset? You know, a baby is getting upset and you can't reason with him. He's upset. That's it. He's busy being upset. There's nothing. You can have to wait till he's screaming and yelling. Then you say, after he's like, you know, he just got it out. Okay, got himself really miserable and suffering, right? And then you say, you know what? You know, if you just do this and this, maybe you can get another opportunity. You give him hope. But as a grown-up, you're supposed to do it yourself. You're supposed to say, instead of being totally addicted to the whole spectrum of negative emotions, which is basically being stuck in yourself, like the moon complaining about the sun, you're stuck in your own empty aggravation, and that's it, like the moon without the sun, okay? And there's only pain there. And you have to choose undo. How do you do that? Only if you have a real faith that the creation has been created perfectly right by the Creator that is perfectly loving unconditionally to everyone all the time. But that's not fair. If you connect to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that never changes, is always loving. So you're saying, you know what? I didn't get what I wanted, but I didn't get something. I don't know why, but must be a reason. I do really have faith that everything was created for good, even the uncomfortable process that I'm going through right now, that's also for the good. That's what the Zohar says. During the day of Rosh Hashanah, that the moon disappears, it doesn't disappear totally. There's a little sliver. 9 out of 10 Sefirot leave the moon on Rosh Hashanah because of the blowing the shofar. Only one Sefirah is left, which is called Nekudat HaKeter, says the Zohar. What is the Keter? In Latin, corona. Keter is the first Sefirah, the first emanation from the endless. And this is the emanation of what? The endless sharing of the Creator with its creation. In the Sefirah of Keter, there is nothing but endless sharing, endless loving, endless caring that covers. Keter comes from the word crown, the crown of a king, but there's something really important in the word crown. If you notice, the crown of the king surrounds the head of the king. In Hebrew, Keter means to surround. To surround means also to be siba, the cause of. When you surround the city, you put the siege, the city under a siege, which means from now on you control whoever comes in and comes out. You control what comes in and what comes out. So Keter means also control. What is the real original Keter? It's all for the good. What is the original control? And that is the place we fall every time we mess it up. Why did I mess it up? I got scared. I got upset. The pain took over me. I got really frustrated. If I was connected at that moment to a total, complete, whole faith in the Keter, which means there's nothing in this reality that can get out of the Keter. Everything, by the end of the days, the sages say we will look backwards and we'll see that, wow, whatever happened to me, everything was for the good. I just didn't know how to read the map. I didn't know to read the writing on the wall. I had no idea that whatever I was going through, it was painful, but basically it brought me to the place I am right now. The moment you have that faith, you don't get upset. You don't go to that spectrum of negative emotions. You don't mess it up. You do not become a victim and an addicted, or a slave of the dark side. This is what we want to fix on Rosh Hashanah. That's what we have. That's what the big gift of Rosh Hashanah is about. Because in Rosh Hashanah, when we go back to that keter, to that thought of the creation that it's all positive. You know what? If it's all positive, it is supposed to give us chances, opportunities to take the darkness and turn it into light. Because there's no ownership if you just get it for free. So when you say, oh, it's not fair, why I didn't get it? The sages are saying, Yagata umatzata tamin. You work hard, you get it. You didn't get it, you didn't work hard. No, but I don't have to work that hard. Oh, maybe you worked hard, but not in the right way. Working hard does not mean physically suffering and feeling misery. Working hard means getting out of the negativity, the victimization, the selfishness, taking responsibility, taking the initiative, becoming the light you want to feel. That is symbolized by the keter. So when 9 Sefirot fall away from Malchut during the blowing the Shofar of Rosh Hashanah, we connect, what's left is the keter, which means we can go and ascend and connect to that point that we were created from. We go back to Genesis. We'll go back to that place in which it's all for the good. And we can connect to that place that I don't know how. I don't want to make a research how, but I know I have that feeling. You know, when you have that feeling, connecting to the keter, you don't need to know how. You simply know that it's all good. And when you know that and you're okay with that, all the dirt falls away because it has no hold on you. So you can move on to the next year only with bliss. That's why we say on the night of Rosh Hashanah, Tachel tichle shana v'kilalotea. A year with its curses will end. V'tachel shana v'birchotea. And a year with its blessings will start. Connecting to the keter, that's exactly our job. Now, and then, because you connect to keter, there's no place for judgment. So how do we do that? The tekiyah, the blowing the shofar, has, as I said, 4 sounds. The first and the last sound almost the same, but they have different meaning. The tekiyah is connected to Abraham, the right column. Abraham, the patriarch, is the symbol for the right column, always giving, sharing, whatever. This is the energy that allows us to overcome any limitation, any aggravation, or all kinds of dark stuff that we have to awaken. That when we go through a very, very negative moment, challenging moment, we have to hold on to Abraham energy, to the energy of unconditional love. Okay? The right column. When we do that, we can sweeten the judgment and change it around. During Rosh Hashanah, we are fixing it. How? By awakening that power that we didn't awaken during the past year. That is the tekiyah. Tekiyah means blowing. Then, immediately after that, there is shevarim. Shevarim means broken. It's the same tekiyah broken into 3. Why? Because that represents the left column of Isaac. But remember, Isaac is a corrected left column because Isaac allowed his father Abraham to bind him. We were supposed to have that Isaac inside us when we do go through things. Yes, I want it all to be good. I was created for that purpose. However, I'm allowing Abraham to bind me. I'm conditioning my good. If I want it to be good, it's in one condition: it doesn't hurt others, and also this good is going to help others too. This is the Isaac. This is the left column that is corrected. So that is the Shevarim. Then comes Teruah, which is connected to King David, Malchut. That's the shattered. Teruah means shattered. The shattered voice. That shattered voice is what happens when we don't overcome ourselves, but we need to overcome. That means also that the light wants to come in and we don't let it in, and the light still, we're not dead on the spot, because the light of the Creator still sips in between the barrier that we achieve. And then we conclude that with the Tekiah, central column, referring to Jacob. What is the Tekiah? That's a full break. Don't think about it. Don't question that. Don't scream, but it's not fair. But all of those negative thoughts and logic doesn't make you smarter, doesn't make you stronger, doesn't make you more powerful, okay, and happier. Shutting it down completely till all the 9 sefirot of that vessel that you created fall apart, and only the Keter is left. You know what's the Keter? It's like the stem cell. Coming back to the stem cell stage in which you can rebuild everything anew. That's what the Tekiah is doing. So, a simple line of blowing is Tekiah, Shvarim, Teruah, Tekiah. You can also have a sound of Tekiah, Shvarim Tekiah, and Tekiah, Teruah Tekiah. Some you want to isolate the judgment of the left column and the judgment of Malchut separately. But that's basically how the shofar blowing sounds. Okay? We have 100 sounds every day, 101 sounds every day of Rosh Hashanah to cover 10 times 10 sefirot. Okay? We have in the morning of Rosh Hashanah 4 rounds of blowing the shofar. The first round is if you pray the morning prayer of Shacharit of Rosh Hashanah, the morning prayer of Rosh Hashanah, after the Torah reading, just as the Torah reading is being finished, and then the Haftarah is being read, there's a reading from the prophets, then the Torah is still there on the bima, just in the middle of the community, and then there's 1 round of blowing of the shofar. This is to atone, to correct, to cleanse all kinds of desires that are connected to idol worship. Okay? Idol worship, oh, we have all kinds of idol worship. Yeah, I never prayed to a stone, but you were addicted to all kinds of stuff, emotions, feeling sorry for yourself. That's idol worship. Okay? Being addicted to, it says on the dollar, in God we trust. This God, the dollar. You worship other people's opinions, all of that stuff. This is idol worshiping. All of those moments that we allowed other forces to control our lives. And then we blame the whole world for that. That's cleansing, basically, the first round. Then the community brings the Torah back to the ark, and comes a second round of blowing during the silent prayer of Musaf. This is to atone and cleanse incest. I didn't have anything like with anybody like this in the past year and never in my life. No, incense is every time we jump with passion over things without thinking, just taking it all for ourselves, and who cares about the results? That is incest. Okay? Then, after the finish of the Musaf, silent prayer, there's a third round during the Musaf repetition. Now, the person who prays, who leads the prayer, he prays loud the same prayer we did before. And during that prayer, there's a third session of blowing the shofar. That is to cover bloodshed. I didn't kill anybody. Oh yeah. You know, it says that when you insult somebody in public, it's like you killed him. When you destroy somebody's ability to make a living, you killed him. There's so many ways we hurt people, and that is referred to as bloodshed. Okay? That is what we have to cleanse on the third round. Then the prayer continues a little bit more. It's over, and there is a Kaddish just before the end of the prayer. During the Kaddish, there's a short round of blowing, and that is to atone and to cleanse Lashon Hara. Lashon Hara is bad mouthing other people, which means hurting other people with no need by telling stuff about them. Okay? With no need. Somebody is a thief, I have to warn a friend from that thief. That's not Lashon Hara. There was no need. Nobody get any benefit except for my ego. That is Lashon Hara, and that is horrible. That has to be fixed on the fourth round of the blowing the shofar. Okay, that is happening on the first day, which is first day is correcting the inner aspect of our lives, and the second day is the external aspect. So basically, we covered up some of the magical powers of the shofar. If you are not a Jew or you don't live in a place there's a synagogue, you can just do the meditations. If you're Jewish, you have to use shofar. So either you get yourself to a place where people blow the shofar, or you connect to somebody who can come and blow the shofar for you. You can't get out of the house or something like this. And but these are the basic meditation. It's better to be in a place where people know how to blow the shofar and you can join them and do it together in public. It's much more powerful. Thank you so much. Any questions?
Yeah. You had said if you don't want something, you won't get it. So what if you're not really interested in, you're going through life, you're not really interested in acquiring all kinds of chazarai, so you're not missing. If you don't get it, you're not missing out.
Look, did we come over here to be pigs? No, we came here to fulfill our souls. But as it says, we read the last Shabbat, Parashat Kitavo, why many of our punishments are because we did not serve the Creator with happiness and good heart. Some people, their religion is to be upset, to be aggravated, to be in a complaining mood. We're talking about the human being must be happy. But the journey you owe to yourself, what really makes me happy in a lasting manner, which means being happy, just buying fancy cars don't really make you happy. I know a lot of people that have like very fancy cars. They get excited for a little bit and then it's over. That's not really happiness. I'm not saying you shouldn't have a fancy car. If you can afford it, then why not? But what I'm saying is, that we have to find and to be honest with ourselves, and that's a journey of life to find what really makes us happy and how can we really achieve that level. And he can't go by just, what can I do? God wants me to be just, modest and want nothing. And when I die, that's religion of the dark ages. When I die, I go to heaven and I get a full of stuff. That's not, we're not there anymore. I hope so. Okay?
Yes.
So I'm supposed to be really active in my pursuit, my after happiness and fulfillment, and I have to find what is the way to do it that is really balanced. Okay? Any more questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
You said the last
By
time.
the way, guys, whoever is not speaking, please shut down your mic.
The last round of the shofar blowing is the last kiddush you say. I was just looking in the Maksur. It's after that point that we get the bracha from the Kohanim.
No. The blessing of the Kohanim is before it.
The blessing of the Kohanim is before?
It's during Musaf, yes.
It's during Musaf, okay.
The Kaddish is being said before Aleinu Leshabeach, which is the last part of the prayer. And that Kaddish, there is a shofar blowing. That's for Lashon Hara. And then at the end of the Aleinu Leshabeach, there is a long Tu'ah, okay? That is the 101st blow that really seals the whole connection.
And that is after the Kohanim.
That's after the blessing of the Kohanim is inside Musaf, in the repetition.
Inside Musaf. So okay. The last one is done after the end, just before we're doing the end.
The last session. And after the Aleinu Shabeach, there's the 101st blow, and this is the completion of everything. And that brings it to 101 tekiyot. It's like doing the extra mile. It's also a numerical value, Michael. Michael is the angel of chesed and love. So we want to bring, with doing that, we bring in God's kingdom. What is, because we have in the shofar kingdom. What is kingdom? The moment we make God our king, which means we trust whatever that's connecting to Keter, to his crown. We know that he's the king, he's ruling everything, and therefore we have no complaint about anything that happened to us. You know what happens to our IQ when we're not in a complaint mood? We're much smarter, right? We're more enlightened. Then you have the shofar, then the shofar also can blow in all the light of sustenance, fulfillment, healing that we need for the coming year. Because you blow in. It's like the light being blown through the pipes into a vessel, like God blew through the nostrils of Adam in order to make him alive. So that's another aspect. That's why shofar means in Hebrew it's coming leshaper, to improve, either by giving life, either by removing all blemishes. Okay? And then you have zachiyot, it's cleansing. Then that's a cleansing that we achieve, that we have an opportunity to start a new year, which is really new. It's not the same recycled pain and misery and suffering and frustration and challenges that we didn't really understand them. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, that helps.
Any more questions?
I have question about the Satan.
Yes.
I understand God made the Satan with deficiencies. Otherwise, we could never exist as human beings. One of them apparently is he doesn't play chess very well. In other words, King David was the seventh son of his seventh son, hidden from the Satan, so he couldn't see him. I'm wondering about the shofar. It says the shofar blast confused the Satan. And I always wondered, what are they talking about? Confuse them. The smart guy like that, how's a shofar blast going to confuse him? Unless, of course, that's a deficiency that God, built him with.
Look, if you really make the connection properly during the shofar blowing, okay, and and that's what we said, you really connect to the power of love, and you overcome that power about your needs and desires, and you shut down completely the complaints and the negativity and the victimization and all of those negative thoughts, and you really reach that keter, which it's all good. Just don't think about it. You are, as the sages are saying, a new person. So if the Satan is related like a prosecutor attorney, you just stole the files away from him. He's there in court and there's no files because you're not that person anymore. The Maimonides is saying, if you really did that, you're not the same person, which means he can't find you. You're a new person. You are a totally new person. And if you're a new person, so he has no grounds anymore because that stuff that you did, doesn't happen. You eliminated it. You corrected it. You're not the same person. That's a difference. This most special thing about the biblical awareness. We are humans. We make mistakes, but we can fix them. And after we fix them, don't mention it over again. If you're really a different changed person, nobody's supposed to mention it to you, including yourself. Move on. Move on. Try again. You will see that after Rosh Hashanah, there's certain stuff that bother you. It's not there anymore. Why? You eliminated it, and so you're not that person anymore. That is so to say that the Satan is confused, it's not because he's not intelligent enough, it's because you're not the same person. This is in a way of allegory to give you the feel of what is the effect of the process that Rosh Hashanah is giving us. And that's why Rosh Hashanah is a day of celebration. We have the merit to connect to all what is good in our creation. Isn't that an amazing, happy day? Should be really happy, and therefore the sages are also saying during the Rosh Hashanah and the prayers of Rosh Hashanah, especially during the blowing the shofar, don't dare to mention all this bad stuff you've done. Why? You destroy the whole case. You incriminate yourself.
We do the al-chet.
What? Not on Rosh Hashanah. You're not allowed to do al-chet on Rosh Hashanah, only on Yom Kippur.
Oh, okay.
No vidui on Rosh Hashanah. Not allowed to do vidui on Rosh Hashanah. No way. You can't. You're not allowed to do it. Why? Why would you incriminate yourself? You should focus on what you want to be, not on what you messed up.
So it's like getting a not guilty verdict.
Yeah, why? Because you go back to those moments that you made a mistake and you don't think about how terrible the mistake was. You think about what is the person I would like to be? How do I want it to be? What's the right way to behave in such a challenge? And that is your wish that will be fulfilled on Rosh Hashanah. If you just concentrate on the person you're supposed to be, your calling, who is the person you become, to connect to that. You have that gift. We spoke about it in Parashat Nitzavim. You have the ability to connect to that image of the person you were created to become. What an amazing gift.
Thank you.
Okay. That's why we eat on the 2 nights of Rosh Hashanah. We eat all kinds of foods that remind us positivity. It's all about, we eat apple with honey. Apple is a symbol of white, red, and green. That you have, the white apples have these 3 colors. Right, left, and center, the 3 blowing. It's like that. And With honey, by that, we sweeten everything that looks horrible with the right positive consciousness. So that's the apple and honey, which means we're here to sweeten the judgment. So when we eat, let's say, what else do we have? Dates. Because date in Hebrew, tamar, which means the end of bitterness. So we eat all kinds of stuff that remind us. It's all behind us. Now it's going to be great. Because we want to feel like this. We want to celebrate like this. And we want that energy to infiltrate through the whole year. Okay, everyone. Thank you very much and have a happy, amazing new year.
Thank you.